Dobar den na svite. Welcome back to all of those people that have returned to their homeland. I would echo what the US ambassador said about what a fabulous country it is. I'm amazed you left. It really is remarkable. And I don't just say that because I am paid to be a diplomat and to be nice about other countries. I have extended my diplomatic tour here for 1 extra year. I got married here, my daughter was born here, and the English language and one of the few English language books that is a travel guide recommending Macedonia, I've written the foreword. So I put my money where my mouth is, I think you could say. I want to talk a little bit about the 20-year diplomatic relationship between Britain and Macedonia, and it's this year, the 20 years we'll be celebrating in December. I want to talk from a little bit about first principles, and I think the first principle that comes to mind in British diplomacy is, can we achieve anything? Are we actually going out into the world as a diplomatic network and achieving anything positive? Because if you don't believe that, you're not going to have a diplomatic network. So you have to have that as a starting principle, that transformation can be positive and that it is realistic. And what has inspired Britain over the years has been some of those fantastic transformational periods in history. My own Foreign Secretary is a passionate researcher into the lives of people from the past, prime ministers, great personalities, and one of those is William Wilberforce, a British proponent on driving the abolition of slavery. And it was the abolition of slavery that led to a real groundswell of support for the notion of human dignity. 2 world wars later, that instinct to think about human dignity that inspired people then inspired the world to come up for the first time ever with a list of human rights, owned by you, owned by me, owned by every individual. And that transformation was slow. It took decades and decades. It took experiences that often were very, very painful, and learning the lessons of change. But Britain's experience over that period has been that you can transform for the positive and you can transform for the good. So with that principle of positive transformation, our diplomatic network looks outwards from the United Kingdom across the globe and wants to effect positive change. In this region, British policy is about enlargement of the European Union. Successive governments have supported enlargement, successive parliaments have supported EU enlargement. And there are reasons for this, not least again because of positive transformation, of Britain's experience, its view, its perspective of the transformation across Central Europe in the last 20 years. Boosting GDP, boosting exports, trade, improving the rule of law, democratization in countries, all of these positive transformations, I think, have shown that the process of EU enlargement can make everyone's life better in a very tangible way. And that is why Britain supports EU enlargement. Also because it brings together 2 of our 3 objectives very neatly. We only have 3 objectives, but they are pretty ambitious. The first foreign policy objective, and you will appreciate this, I think, being in the diaspora, living in many other countries, away from your homeland, it is about looking after British nationals overseas and providing consular services. That's one of our 3 objectives. Our other 2 objectives are greater prosperity and greater security. And when you put those together with a desire to see transformation, support for EU enlargement and the transformation that can achieve, and the end state of greater security and prosperity in their own right, then you can see why Britain has an embassy in Skopje, has embassies across Europe, has embassies around the world, and why we in the embassy in Skopje mount projects to support public administration, offer scholarships, that we've spent the last 20 years really trying to build up a relationship with Macedonia which is productive, constructive, and I hope welcome too. So some of these first principles drive British diplomacy across Europe, across the Western Balkans, and here in Macedonia. I would echo something that the US ambassador said. We would very much like to see you in the EU and NATO. And that's easily said, and it is hard. There are incredibly difficult challenges, actually difficult challenges which almost every country trying to get into the EU has faced in a different way. My own country was prevented for a long period from getting into the European Union. We know it feels quite difficult, quite frustrating, and it is exceptionally difficult to overcome those kinds of challenges. But after decades of being in the EU, of driving change, of sitting around the table, it has been worth it, and Britain is determined to remain a member of the European Union into the future, and we would like to see Macedonia around the table with us. I guess your role, if I just say a few final words, is for you to determine. And I do ask you to reflect upon what it is that the diaspora can offer in support of Macedonia's future. What are the next 20 years going to look like? And how can you make a positive, constructive contribution? And that is for you to decide. I'm not going to be arrogant and stand here and tell you what I think that looks like. It is for you to decide. But do what one Macedonian did last year in terms of your ambition levels. In London at the Olympics, Oliveira went for gold, and I encourage you to do the same. Thank you very much.